Hello, I'm Dianne Lundy, and I'm here today to give you a demonstration sponsored by the Rapids Parish Library. We're filming this edition without an audience, but you can find it on YouTube, and you may also come into the library and get copies of the recipe, or call the library and they can email you a copy. Let me give you a little bit of information about myself for those of you who don't know me. My name is Dianne Lundy, as I said. I'm a retired family and consumer science teacher. I spent the last 26 years of my teaching career at Pineville High School. And I'm now retired, and I do many things. And one of the things I do is I'm also an author. I have written 4 books, and my latest book is about someone you may know, Billy Allgood. It's called The Billy Allgood Story, and it's available from the Louisiana College bookstore. All the money from this book will go to the Billy Allgood Scholarship Fund. All right, let's get started with our recipe. First, I'm going to put on some gloves. The first thing we'll make is hot taco salad. Now, this is a salad that can be used any time of the year. It would probably be more popular in the summer months. The recipe for this salad is actually very large, and since we don't have a large audience to consume it, we're going to cut the recipe in half today. The first thing that we need to do is to brown some meat in a skillet. Now, this recipe also calls for some melted cheese, Velveeta cheese. So we're going to go ahead and melt that in the top half of the double boiler while we're cooking our meat and our other ingredients. For those of you who are not familiar with the double boiler, this is what people use before the invention of the microwave oven. You can probably just heat this in a heat-proof bowl in your microwave oven. I would advise putting some saran wrap over it to avoid spatting. Our original recipe calls for 1.5 pounds of ground meat, so today we'll be using 3/4 of a pound. We have already prepared our other ingredients in advance so that we won't take too much time with the video. I don't want to turn this up too high because during one of my demonstrations we were doing pasta and someone wanted pasta and the boiler boiled over, so we'll try to avoid that. When I'm at home, I usually just sprinkle a little bit of flour in it to see if it's starting to bubble. We'll just use a small piece of ground meat here. While we're waiting, let me tell you how I got started with cooking. My mom did not know how to cook when she got married because her mother would never let her in the kitchen. She grew up on a farm, and I guess her mother was always in a hurry, and she was afraid my mother would slow things down. So she did not want me and my sister to suffer the same fate. She enrolled us in the 4-H club when we were in the 5th grade, and one of our first projects we took was baking. And I remember the first thing that I made was oatmeal cookies. They gave us a little book that had a lot of recipes, and I thought that was really neat because I had never made homemade oatmeal cookies before. My sister says the first thing she learned how to cook was cornbread. Maybe I was a little more adventurous. Okay, now our grease is spattering, so we'll add the 3/4 of a pound of this. And we have just enough left over for somebody in the library to have a 1/4 pound of hamburger. don't really want to put my hands on this, so we will use the pancake turner to separate it. I think I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit. Now this recipe is the only recipe I have seen for hot taco salad. All the other recipes that I've seen or tasted call for it to be served cold. So it is best served right after you make it, and probably would not be that good the next day. So plan for how many people you want to serve and use that amount of ingredients. Just keep working with the meat until it is browned all the way through. Okay, the original recipe calls for, well, it just says chili powder to taste. Okay, we'll just sprinkle it in. Probably for the original recipe, I would use a teaspoon. For this, probably maybe 3/4 of a teaspoon. Sprinkle that in and mix it around. I don't know, I could add a little more. Some people like things to be really hot. And I no longer use real salt because my husband's on a low salt diet. So I hope I don't get this too salty. But remember, this is going to be your salt in your salad, so you have to salt your other ingredients too. So it won't hurt to add a little extra. While we're waiting for that, let me give the Velveeta cheese a stir. Starting to melt. Now we're going to saute all of our vegetables except the tomatoes and lettuce along with the onion, with the hamburger meat. So we have our chopped celery. For any of my students who may be watching this, you're going to have the instructions rarely went 100% accurately. The bell pepper, and the onion. Okay, now we need to stir this. It's going to take a while. You have to saute this until your onions and your other vegetables are clear. We might turn the heat up just a notch. Well, I think that's as high as it's going to go. Okay. I started to bring my electric skillet today, but since I knew the library had this little cooktop, I did not do that. Electric skillets were very popular in the 1960s, but they kind of went out of popularity, but I still use mine quite frequently. Okay, time to stir the cheese again. It's almost melted. The onions are beginning to turn a little translucent now. And I can't really smell things from here, but it may start to smell like a Mexican restaurant. My husband keeps telling me he wants me to make one of these salads, but since it makes such a large amount, I just haven't made any more since we now live by ourselves. But basically, I would recommend making this just before you're ready to serve it because, like I said, it's supposed to be served hot. And because it has hamburger meat in it and all your vegetables, you can actually use this as your basic main dish of your meal. The main thing is you need a heat-proof bowl to put it in once you're through. I would not advise using a plastic salad bowl from Walmart because it's probably going to melt it. Okay, back to the cheese. I think it's melted now. And we're going to add half a can of Rotel tomatoes. The original recipe, I think I need a spoon here. The original recipe calls for a whole can, but we're having the recipe, so we'll just use half a can. Now you can buy the mild or the hot, depending on your taste. This particular one is mild. Stir that in. And we need to keep that warm. I'm going to turn the fire down some more. Now let me mention, if you're using a double boiler, once the water reaches boiling, it's not going to get any hotter. So you don't need the temperature up real high. Otherwise, the water will come out as steam and come back into your face. So keep that in mind. All right, our vegetables are coming along nicely. Our meat is browned. Now, depending on what kind of diet you're on, I think we do need to drain a little of this. If it doesn't cook out, we're going to have to drain a little of this liquid off because we do not want that in our salad. In the meantime, we will take our salad bowl, and this is an Anchor hocking bowl, which is the equivalent of having a Pyrex bowl that's supposed to be heat-proof. And we're going to go ahead and put our lettuce down in this bowl. And we'll also go ahead and put our tomatoes in there, which we've already chopped up. Now, I do not have any true salad tongs. I had a salad bowl at one time that had the two little things where you could do this, and the salad bowl became unusable, and I must have thrown those away because I can't find it anywhere. But tongs will work just fine. Okay, our recipe also calls for some crushed Cheetos. Go ahead and add those to your salad bowl. Probably about a half a package of the regular size. I would advise using the original Cheetos because the other ones are really, really crunchy and hard to crush. The younger people do not remember the time when we did not have the scooters. All we had is regular Cheetos. Let me get a spoon and see if I can get the rest of this liquid out of here. Put that in the heat-proof bowl also. Okay. Now you have two choices. You can mix the cheese in with your meat, or you can put the meat in first and add the cheese. I think we will just put the cheese and meat together. I think I need a pot holder for that. Here we go. The steam is still coming out of the bowl. I know we have some more liquid. Let me get that out. All right, we're going to turn off our fire. Okay, we add the cheese to the meat. I think that would work better because we can mix it up really, really well. Stir that around until it's mixed. Now this is really hot, so if you're serving it to children, you may want to let it cool a little bit before they eat it. This pan is really heavy. All right, we add this to our lettuce and tomato. And we may have too much meat there because we're hacking the recipe. It's a little hard to get everything exactly right. All right, mix this together. Put this into your salad bowl or onto I'd say a luncheon size plate. Probably if you have a salad bowl, you might set it on a luncheon plate and serve it. And there you have your taco salad.